Want to get into what I hate about radio today? Radio's dead. Of course it is. You hear what happened to Don Geronimo? Don Geronimo got fired from his gig at a sports station down there in Washington because he was just fooling around. Oh God, everyone is so sensitive. He was kind of goofing around with a reporter, calling her Barbie or something like that. It's like, who cares? This is why, like, when people go, "Hey, when are you going to get back to radio?" Read the story about Don Geronimo, and then I don't have to answer, because it's impossible to do anything that you would want me to do. It's impossible to do anything that you would want me and Anthony to do if we got back on regular radio. It's over, Johnny. It's over. I even have to be careful live streaming with no bosses, because YouTube and Facebook get very, very sensitive about a whole bunch of stuff as well. But they've just fired Geronimo. He was just being a goofball. The guy is like, the guy is a veteran of the Thousand Psychic Wars. Blue Oyster Cult, anyone? He's a veteran of radio. He isn't going to just jump on mic and purposely try to get himself fired or anything. He's just doing what they hired him for, to be kind of edgy and interesting. Like I tweeted, like, I support Don Geronimo, of course I do, but it doesn't even matter, because like regular radio is completely lost, and they continue doing it to themselves. Like, why do you think these podcasters have just completely taken off? Why does Joe Rogan have millions of fucking listeners, and Bill Burr and Kreischer and Theo Vaughn and all these people? And they're still stupid. They're still stupid. So, like I tweeted, regular radio should just get it over with and just turn all your dumb stations into AI, because you never got it. You allowed all new media to kick you in the balls. You were the only game in town, and you allowed every freaking new media to kick you in the balls. I've done this rap a million times, but there was a time where, like, regular radio is like, satellite radio, it's a fad. I'm like, no, it's not. No, it's not. With Wi-Fi getting better, and and America, like, kind of shrinking, becoming almost one entity. No, satellite radio is not a fad, you idiots. Oh, the internet's just a fad. Even the great Mel Karmazin, who was literally the godfather of shock jock radio. Howard Stern was getting fired by WNBC, and Mel Karmazin was a younger operator. He saw Howard Stern. He's like, what idiots. I don't like Howard, but like I said, what I love is giving you the good, the bad, the ugly. That's becoming more and more of a theme. So I'll give you the good about the Howard thing. He was setting radio dials on fire in New York, on fire, and NBC was getting nervous, and they were getting fined, but they were making stupid money, and they fired his ass. And Mel Karmazin came around, and he's like, well, I'm young. I get it. I'm hiring you. And then they had a relationship for the next, God knows, 20 some odd years, 25 years. Could be 30 years. Because he got it. But then, like, later in his career, Mel Karmazin, like, the internet was obviously a competitor, and Mel's like, what? I can't make money off the internet, so I'm not going to worry about that. I'm like, oh my, it's coming, man. When you're the only game in town, they could have embraced, now I'm talking regular radio in general, they could have embraced internet, satellite radio, the really early years of podcasting, when it was really hard to just get a podcast. And then there was some idiot out there that was literally suing everybody that had a podcast because they were using his technology. But regular radio should have just embraced all of that. But now they're just suckers, firing guys like Don Geronimo, and then wondering why does Rogan have such a giant audience? Why does Theo? Because they're just, they can talk about whatever they want on their podcast. No one's holding them back. You dummies, fire yourselves. If you work in regular radio, I'm not even joking. If you're working in regular radio and you don't turn on a mic, March into this station today and fire yourself. Just make an announcement and go, I'm the one in the way. I will be leaving. This is my last day. It could be the best thing to ever happen to radio. Dopes. All of them dopes. And then people come to me, hey, yo, when are you going to get? There's nowhere to go. Because regular radio stinks on ice. So, yeah, I support Don Geronimo. Another guy getting screwed over. And then they're like, well, God, we got to fire the receptionist now. We're making no money. I went to a radio station in Rochester, right? When it came up, you had receptionists, you had salespeople running around the place, you had like promotion directors and assistants and sales assistants. It was a lively place. Lively. Fast forward, this is what radio did. They just let all the new media come in and take the money. Right? They literally would just grab the money. Thank you. I'll take that. And regular radio just sat there and took it. Right. So fast forward, I go up to see Brother Weeze, and usually you walk into a radio station. There's a lovely receptionist right there. Who are you here to see? Thank you very much. I'm going to go see Brother Weeze. Okay, he's 2 studios down on the right. Let him know you're here. Thank you. And then they take care of packages, and they take care of like concert winners, right? So I go up to see Brother Weeze, and I get to a door, and it's just a sign. Like, you have to sign in yourself. There's no receptionist anymore. They fired all the low-level people because they were going broke. Like I said, they were wondering why they were going broke. As satellite radio was taking off and now podcasting taking off, they're wondering why they're going broke. And so I had to call like a number to get to Weeze, who was on the air, so he can't even answer the phone. Then finally, one of his guys answers the phone to let me in. And then then they had another thing set up where like all the mail just gets thrown into a slot, and then somebody, like, I guess, goes through it. Like, long story short, they got rid of all the low level people because they were just trying to save money and save the radio stations. And it continues to this day with this Don Geronimo firing. They're just stupid. God, when I first heard like some of these guys coming out of New York City on the radio, I fell in love with radio. And then to see what it has become, it's so dumb. They're just a bunch of idiots. Name one radio show you actually listen to. I mean, I can, because Brother Weeze is still doing it. Like, he's in his 70s and he's still getting the job done. So I can do that. But most of you can't name one show where you're like, oh my God, I have to listen to this one show every morning because it's unbelievable and I don't know what they're going to do. That was our philosophy back in the day. You got to tune in every day because you don't know what the hell you're going to hear. You got to tune in every day because this could be the last day we're on the radio. We warned everyone all the time, and they're like, oh, that's kind of funny. But then they started believing it. And then one day we're not there and they're playing some nonsense. And they never explain what happened to us. But you tell me one show that keeps your interest in this day and age, and they wonder. And any guy that's still left on regular radio, he is so paranoid and worried. Oh my God, am I going to get fired for saying whatever? And I don't even know where the line is anymore. The line is so I guess I would say in front of you now. Just doing regular radio, the line is right there. Your tippy toes are already on the line. Back in the day, our line was like, we couldn't even see it. We couldn't go far enough, as long as, like I said, we followed the FCC regulations. But now it's just, oh, I laughed. Not for Don Geronimo. I laughed at regular radio when I heard they fired Geronimo for just fooling around with a reporter, fooling around on the air. Obviously, nothing like, all legal. Like, just kind of calling her Barbie and stuff. What, you can't take that? How about you hire people that have a thick skin that can take it and fight back? Dead fool. Wow, 1999. Damn, bro. Thank you. With my phone automatically connecting to my vehicle, I don't think I've listened to regular radio or even Sirius for years. Yeah, man. Well, Sirius, satellite's doing the exact same thing. The amount of hosts they let go that were kind of interesting is pretty long at this point. I said the other day, like it's a joke that I'm not on satellite radio. I run circles around every show over there, and I'm doing it by myself. If I went back there with a couple producers and like a couple people that I could have on the show on a regular basis, I would destroy anything on there. Maybe not Howard at this point, but pretty much anybody else. And they just get rid of they got rid of all the interesting shows. Now it's satellite radio as well, and then podcasting is just kicking satellite radio's ass. It's like you got to learn what you did to regular radio, stupid Sirius XM. Now podcasting is doing to you, you dopes. They didn't want to embrace podcasting. They jumped on that game way too late. They should have hired all the big podcasters for stupid money. Instead of like Spotify making that deal for Rogan, Sirius XM should have made that deal. And they could have got them a lot cheaper. Dopes. Like who's for real? All right. You know how I said, give me one radio show you actually listen to that's kind of interesting. Now name one satellite radio show that is worth listening to at this point. I mean, sure. I guess Howard to a point, but who else? Ron, always Ron. I tune him in from time to time. He's still kicking ass, but who else? Who else? Who else? Bad Dog, maybe if you're into sports, but if you're not into sports, then you're not gonna, deal with that. What's up, John Courts? What's AM or FM radio? It's a dinosaur. Technology always moves on. I know, and that's what, like they should understand. Like, Don Geronimo really knows how to do radio. So you embrace that and you give him leeway and you let him pretty much say whatever the F he wants. And then if advertisers come at you, you tell them to go screw. You got to stick up for your guys. That's the other thing that I hated about radio. They would hire you to be edgy, shock jockey. Anyone that did the type of radio I did over the years, you fully understood the rules of radio, which were the FCC regulations. There was a very black and white list of things you just could not do. And if you did these things, you'd be in trouble with the government. And then the company you would work for, they would have to pay ridiculous fines. Okay. So we all understood the rules, the FCC regulations. And then pretty much when I was coming up, anything else goes. Yeah. Yeah, that was a crazy bit, but it wasn't an FCC regulation. And then somewhere in there, it just creeped in that, you can't make, you didn't, an accent. Asian accents were a big one for a while. So that's not okay. So we're firing you. So they would hire these really edgy guys like myself and a ton of people that came before me. And they, with the understanding, like, you're going to be like, quote, shock jocks or do edgy radio. I hate the term shock jocks because I think me and Anthony were way more than shock jocks. If you want to know the truth, they were true shock jocks. All they did was go on the air and do ridiculous things. But in between their ridiculous things, they didn't really have much else going on. We had humor and comedy and a lot and commentary. That's why I hate the term shock jocks. So they would hire guys like this with the understanding, like, yeah, this is what they do. And as soon as they got one dumb letter from one dumb minority group, and it doesn't necessarily mean minorities, it could be any group that didn't like what they heard on the radio, these executives would fold and then fire you for doing exactly what they hired you for. What a dumb business. And that's what they did to Don Geronimo. They hired him to be kind of edgy and interesting, and he was edgy and interesting. And they're like, oh, no, that you can't do. So they fired him. And I'm not laughing at Don Geronimo. Like I said earlier, I fully support him. I want to call him. I mean, I don't have that type of relationship with him. I let go of the rope a long time ago. There was an Opie and Anthony versus Don and Mike thing for many, many years. but he lost his wife in a horrific car accident. I think she was driving down to the Jersey Shore. And I remember the day people called up and were so excited, like, oh, now you got some stuff to talk about. I'm like, I ain't touching that. And I bummed out a lot of the pests and the hardcore fans. They're like, oh, here's, oh. And I'm like, nah. I let go of the rope that day, and I actually put to bed my side of that feud. I'm like, I'm good. I'm good with Don and Mike. I'm good because this is real life crap that I don't want to touch. So you know what? I wished him nothing but the best. It was horrific. Neither did you, Hope. You all turned your nose up at podcasting. Mr. Boat, I kind of did it in a way. You're not totally wrong on that one, Aldo. Like Eric Logan came to me and said, podcasting is going to be big. So yeah, I guess I fell into that trap a little bit. Sure, that's fair enough. But I think the only defense I would have on that is like we had a massive radio show when podcasting was coming up, so it was hard to think that maybe we need to make the leap into that arena. But I guess from a competitive standpoint, though, I saw that it was coming for us. I absolutely saw that part of it. And then we did start like putting out like kind of an Opie and Anthony podcast on the side based on our radio show. But you know what, Aldo, you're kind of right. Maybe I got lazy near the end, but when we were on regular radio, the rage for a little while was internet radio, and everyone's like, oh God, they can't listen in their cars and they can't really walk around New York and listen. I'm like, yeah, but the technology is only going to get better as the years go on. That I remember. And I also remember, you could find the audio, but Aldo, I think you are right. I think then I got lazy with this whole thing, but you could absolutely find audio of me. We used to have to do commercials for, was it satellite? It had to be satellite radio. It was either internet radio or satellite, but I think it was satellite radio. They were paying for spots on our massively huge show. And there's absolutely audio out there because we got away with basically murder back then, where I'm screaming, this is the competition. Why are we reading these things? Let them suffocate. I didn't say let them suffocate. I'm saying that now, but I would yell like, why? No, this is the competition. They would just casually have us reading these live reads, basically saying, yeah, turn off Opie and Anthony. Check out satellite radio. That's basically what the commercial was. And they were just greedy, taking their money, not knowing that they were actually helping them to destroy, in the end, to destroy regular radio. Because now they're kings. Satellite radio is kings over regular radio. I know an executive. Yeah, Bennington's awesome. 100. I know an executive. He basically said that they still have radio stations for the simple fact that they can use the content on their regular radio shows for podcasting because they know they're making more money with podcasting revenue than regular radio revenue. So they even understand, like, yeah, we have all these stations, but we keep them active just so we can get podcasts out there. Big J and Bob Kelly on the bonfire. Are they doing all right? I know Bob Kelly is very good at this. I never really listened to the bonfire, so I don't even know if Big J's good at this. I mean, there's no slam to him. He must be because he's been doing it long enough. But I didn't really hear much of his radio show. When he came on, he was another guy that when he came on, Opie and Anthony, I was like, man, we should have had this guy on more too. He came on late in the whole Opie and Anthony era. I have Sirius in a vehicle. I listen to Boneyard and Bennington. There is no buzz to direct me to any other shows. There's no, there literally isn't. I got satellite radio, and I take some very long rides back and forth to the city. Some days I'm in the car 3 to 4 hours, and I'll start from like channel 2 and go all the way, just hoping to hear something that's interesting. And I'm not even going to lie to you because there's not many choices. I've even fallen on Howard's channels. I'm like, God, a lot of this shock jock stuff he does is very antiquated now. It's like, doesn't hold my interest. Maybe it's holding somebody that's younger than me's interest. Who knows? But if he's not interviewing someone of interest, then I'm like, yeah, I don't need to listen to this. You think Jim and Sam are interesting? Well, if you did, then why are you here? Aren't they on right now? See, Rich, that can't be true because Jim and Sam are on right now. You chose me over them. And I have no producers. I don't even have content today, if you want to know the truth. And you chose me over them. That says a lot.